Hi, it's Anne here, and today's video is my intro for my Pan That palette for 2025. So I decided this year not to do the Fantastic Ladies collab. I had a palette that I picked out that kind of fit the theme. The theme is Old Faithful. So it's like a palette that you really like to use, that you would like to pan, may or may not have pan in it already. I had something picked out and I was like, it just doesn't really fit the theme and it's not really what I want to do. So I am kind of going back to something I did a couple of years ago. I'm trying to keep it simple to start with. We'll see how things go. I'm also going to do a face palette as well, and that will be in this video because it's going to be fairly simple, straightforward updates, I hope. I am not the best at panning eyeshadows. I'm not great at panning eyeshadow palettes. I don't necessarily love doing it, but I also want to get through like my eyeshadows and hit pan on some of them and finish some of them. So it's like trying to find the best of both worlds, if that makes sense. So let's start off the face palette. So we're bringing it back old school. This is what I had in my project 2 years ago, was it? I thought about pulling in the Cover FX palette that I have because I would like to just finish that or get a lot of use out of it and then say goodbye to it. But I don't know if I can actually finish stuff in it this year, whereas this one actually has like really good, well, I already have pan in 2 of the shades. So I was like, because I don't really want to finish this one. It's the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Palette number 4. So this is my oldest face palette. It is from 2018. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why I picked it. It has pan in it already, and it's the oldest one. So let's just work on it. I probably will buy one of these again in the future as long as I like the sort of options in it. But yeah, we're going to aim to finish. So we're going to aim kind of what my original goal was. I was aiming to finish everything but the 2 blushes. I don't see myself finishing those 2 blushes, like finishing a blush. Like, if I could even hit pan on one of those blushes, that would be amazing. That would be a miracle. It would be a pleasant surprise. I'm okay if I don't do that. I really do want to finish all 4 of these, and I do think it's possible. Even though I don't have pan in these, they're pretty like flat. I've kind of showed stuff on the side before. I don't know. You can kind of see how flat the bronzer, like you can see how flat the bronzer is compared to the blush on this side. Like the blushes, that's probably, the 2 blushes are definitely still fairly full. The highlight's still pretty full too, but I think I can do it. It's not a super blingy highlight. So, oh my gosh, it's so bizarre outside. It is sunny and snowing. So we got it just got super bright. So yeah, this is the palette that I'm going to be working on for a face palette. And again, the goal is to finish 4 out of the 6 shades in that. I will probably then franken the other 2. Like I might just scrape out the 2 blushes and put them in something else. I'm not sure yet what I'll do with that. The next thing that I'm doing is not an actual palette. I have pulled single shadows and I've put them in here. I've also pulled a couple other shadows, and we'll talk about that. So the ones that we are working on are going to be the top 9. So this big one over here, this one is from the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette. This is a custom white shadow that I kind of frankened myself from, I think it's the Carly Bible palette, something. I frankened a couple things to make this one. I believe these 2, actually I believe all 3 of these are from the Warm Neutrals palette from NYX. This pinky one is from one of those Color Workshop quads. These 2 are from the 2 that I just recently frankened out of the, Urban Decay Naked Basics palette. And then this last one here is from the Real Her palette, which was a palette I worked on several years ago, and I still had a couple shades left. So we're going to try the hardest ones to finish. So I am going to aim to finish all 9 of those. The hardest 2 will be these 2. I just have a hard time finishing darker shades. I can probably use this one in my brows, and that will help use that one up. So yeah, we're aiming to finish all 9 of these. I think some of them will be really easy and some will be challenging. And then I'm going to just be pulling what I did a few years ago. I would just pull like singles at random. But I do want to have a bit more purpose to it. So I have recorded the singles. So I'm going to try not repeat singles. I do want to I don't know how many I'll get through, but we'll see. And then I do want to record. I want to use each single 10 times. If I use it more, great. If I hit pan, awesome. If I already have pan in, it's just expanding the pan. These ones don't have any pan. This one's pretty close to pan. So this one over here is from Pure Nata. It's the shade Darling. This one is from that Blink BoxyCharm palette. And then this is like my favorite shade from the Maybelline Quad in the Designer Chocolates Quad. Does that still exist anymore? I know it's like a different, they released it in sort of like a different layout after this version. But yeah, so I just picked some easy colors to start with. Like, we're going really easy. And again, you can see this is a very easy color story. It's fairly neutral. It's pretty neutral. Maybe a tad warm with these two in here, but for the most part, it's a pretty neutral color story. And the purpose of that is so that I can mix and match with other shadows that I pick singles of, as well as other palettes. So we're gonna do what we did a few years ago, where I'm gonna pull in palettes, and I haven't yet decided if I should do roulette style or I just pick them. As of January, like as of this intro, I'm not picking anything new. I'm still working on the 2 palettes from December. So the ones that I had in December from my No Pan Left Behind was the Blueberry Muffin palette from BH Cosmetics. This is a fantastic palette. Like, every time I pull it out, I wore it in a lot of videos. Like, the shimmers in this palette are just to die for. Like, they're amazing. For the quality, or for the price of this palette, the quality is fantastic. I've used everything except for, well, I thought I've used Sweet. So I have used everything except for Sweet, Cheat Day, and I think it's this one. No, Delish. So like the two of the mid-tone blues I haven't used, and then this one. So once I use that, those 3 up, I'll be done with this, and I'll put it away. So I'm pretty close, although I might continue to just play with this in the month of January, because like I said, those shimmers in this palette are great. And then the one I am wearing today, with another shadow that I'll talk about in a second, is the Colourpop Rudolph Palette. Again, I've used everything. Gosh, this palette's disgusting. I gotta wash it. I've used everything except for this dark green, which I thought I had used, but I guess I didn't. Which I'm wearing green today, so I could have worn the green, and I don't know. For some reason, I thought I'd worn it. So I am wearing just these 2 shades from this palette, and then this shade, kind of a tiny little bit on the outer corner. Like, I used the smallest amount of this shade. Again, some really, really nice shimmers in the shade, and some nice shimmer shades in this palette, as well as like these 3. I feel like these 3 are great mattes for blending. Like, yeah, just really, really nice colors for blending out. So really, really enjoyed this palette, but I'm almost done. I have one shadow left, and then we'll put that away. So I'm not pulling any shadows for this like intro, but the next update is when I will either hand select palettes, or we might do a roulette thing. Let me know. What would you prefer? We could do like a roulette, or we can do like just hand pick. Roulette's fun. It takes a little bit of pressure off me because I don't really have to make a decision. The challenge with the roulette, or the con, is that sometimes I'll get a palette that's like so out of season for me to want to wear that it makes it really hard to wear. Especially, I've talked about I am back in the office a bit more. So a little easier to do that when I was working 100% from home, because it really didn't matter if I was wearing a neon pink eyeshadow in January. So anyway, let me know what would be interesting to you if we do a roulette or if we do a pick. I did do one year like a 50-50, like I did some roulette and some pick. So maybe that's an option as well. And then the other eyeshadow I do have in this project, I have one single one-off. I was going to put this in my regular project pan, but I wanted to keep all the eyeshadow stuff together in one project. And I pulled this because I talked about this last year, would have been in my, I think, overlooked video, overlooked products. This eyeshadow from Colourpop, it's a Super Shock shadow in the shade Frog, is drying out. I did test all the other ones that I have. I have 3 other ones. They're fine. It's just this one, and I think it's because it wasn't properly, I didn't have it quite tight enough, so it's drying out. So the goal of this one is just to use it as much as possible. I would like to hit pan on this. I've had a Super Shock highlight in a project previously, and it was so hard. I never hit pan, and that's all I wanted to do. So I'm accepting of, if I don't hit pan, that's fine. We're just going to use this as much as possible. I feel like it's going to crumble and crack at some point because it's drying out. And especially if I'm going to be using it more this year, that's going to speed up that drying up process because we're going to be opening and closing it, which is fine. So that is the shade that I have on the inner corner, and that's kind of pulled the pinky shade out of that red a bit more from the Rudolph palette. So yeah, I was going to maybe record uses on this, but I can't be bothered, to be honest. It's easier to do it when it's in a palette because I can just mark it, but this, it's just a one-off, and I'm like, I can't be bothered. So we're just going to use it as best as possible and see how far we get with that. So again, I want to keep it simple right now for this first month. We're really just focusing on what is in here, and then come the first update. So again, this is going to be an early month, like beginning of the month type update. So when we get to the beginning of February, we'll figure out what we're going to do in terms of adding shadows. And then again, these 3 will come out probably, I'm hoping, if I can hit them 10 times this month, which I should be able to, considering I'm not bringing in any other palettes at the moment. So yeah, that is it. We're keeping it pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I want to work on stuff, but not overwhelm myself and not like put too much pressure on myself. I'm also, you know, planning a lot of other little projects here and there. So we've just got to keep some of them easier and simpler, which means they're not super exciting, but hopefully that means there'll be progress, because that's the whole point. So I'm starting to ramble. I get to this certain point in my videos, I'm like, so how do we wrap this up? How do we finish this? Are we done? Do I have anything more to say? I don't know. But I think I should finish now and let you get on with whatever you were doing. Whatever else, other videos you want to watch, or whatever else you're going to do for your day. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give a little thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel here in Toronto, Canada. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye.